Hello, welcome to our movie night. Welcome to all the viewers on Zoom and everybody in person in the screening in the gym over at Exercise Express here just down the hall from me. I am Susan Levin. I'm a board member at Reconnect Rochester and chair of its cycling work group, also known as Rochester Cycling Alliance. Reconnect Rochester is a nonprofit organization that works to make our community more connected and equitable by supporting alternative transportation methods other than a car. I'd like to welcome you to the second in a series of RCA's 2021 workshops, 3 short documentaries about women and bicycling. Some quick notes on upcoming events and things going on with RCA. We are presenting our 20 Minutes by Bike visual campaign to show how far you can get from a central location by bicycle in just 20 minutes. We've got downtown Rochester and Arundecoit available, and watch for other posters featuring starting locations in Brighton and Pittsburgh coming soon. Next, Exercise Express and Rochester's Recreation Department and Reconnect Rochester are collaborating to host a series of weekly rides starting at various rec centers throughout the summer. Check out the events page at Exercise Express and Reconnect Rochester for locations. Bike education is one of Reconnect Rochester's main missions, and we have programs available for workplaces to encourage bike commuting and also on-bike classes for kids and adults. Contact Jessie at reconnectrochester.org for more information. A quick reminder to vote in your local primary on June 22nd. Visit reconnectrochester.org to see the candidates' responses on questions regarding transportation issues. We very, very much thank our community bikes and Rochester Bicycling Club for their financial support of our 4 event workshop series. We're excited to present these 3 short documentaries in partnership with Rochester Women's Bike Festival and Exercise Express, along with RCA. Exercise Express provided the Zoom link for the event and is hosting the in-person screening at their spin studio. These 3 films are presented as a package and made available to us by film professor Jennifer Hardacker of Pacific University in Oregon. First up is the story of Annie Londonderry-Kopchowski and her groundbreaking bicycle trip around the world. Next is Georgina Terry, founder of Terry Bicycles. The last film, The Wind in Our Hair, shows us all kinds of girls and women from various perspectives and why they love getting around by bike. The films will run just under an hour. Stick around after that for a Q&A panel. Sorry?
Are you ready to start?
Oh.
Just give me a thumbs up.
Okay. The last film, The Wind in Our Hair, shows us all kinds of girls and women from various perspectives why they love to get around by bike. The films will run just under an hour. Stick around after the films for a Q&A panel with Jennifer Hardacker, Georgina Terry, and Karen Rogers, moderated by Jackie Marchand. Now, get comfy and enjoy the films. If you have questions, we'd love to hear them. Please add them to the Q&A box in the Zoom. And we'll also be collecting questions from the folks at the Exercise Express studio and typing them there too, well, with their paper, and then we'll be adding them in. For Jackie Marchand is the owner of Women Tours, a bicycle touring company for women based in Rochester, New York, that has trips all around the world. She's also a board member and treasurer of Reconnect Rochester. I met Jackie on one of the rides I did 10 years ago, and I'm glad to serve on the board with her at Reconnect and also be her friend. So Jackie, take it away. Oh, Monica, I think you'll have to let Jackie's video go on. We're just waiting for Jackie's video to go.
Hey there, I hope you can all hear me. Thank you, Susan. I'm honored to be here among 3 very talented women on our panel. First of all, we have Georgina Terry. There is she here? Yes, but she's not on video yet. She is, as you know, she's the subject of the second film that we have that we just showed. As you probably know, she's the founder of Terry Precision Cycling for women. She sold her company about 12 years ago and started another one. Now she designs custom bicycles for women only, which are built by Waterford Cycles. When she's not riding or designing bikes, she does research on clean energy law and policy for the Clean Energy States Alliance, a nonprofit in Vermont. And sometimes people may not know is I worked for Georgina at Terry Bicycles for 10 years before I took over my own company of Women Tours. Georgina has been a mentor to me ever since, and I've been extremely thankful to her. Next up, we're thrilled to have Jennifer Hardacker, the filmmaker of our final film tonight, The Wind in Our Hair. She's been making experimental and documentary films for over 20 years. She currently teaches film studies and production at a small liberal arts college in Oregon. And when she's not working, she's cycling, hiking, and gardening, 3 of my passions as well. We are true spirits. Our third panelist is Karen Rogers, who, if you're sitting here in Exercise Express, you've all met her. She's the owner of Exercise Express, where we are tonight in Rochester, New York. She's also one of the founding organizers of Rochester Women's Bike Festival. She's a certified spin instructor, has been for 10 years, and a strong advocate for biking in our community. She leads bike rides all over the city. A little known fact is she actually started biking outside on a dare. So I do encourage your questions. If you're here at Exercise Express, write them down on a piece of paper, and I think someone in the big room is collecting them. If you're in Zoom, you can write them in chat, and I think they're being organized by Jesse and Susan, and I'll get to as many as I can. But I do want to start out by asking all 3 panelists the simple question of when you last rode your bicycle outside. Georgina, I'll start with you. They're going to have to, you'll have to unmute yourself, Georgina.
Probably about 5 hours ago. Or this morning.
And Jennifer, how about you? Can you beat that?
Well, maybe a little less than 5 hours ago. So I had a little errand to do earlier today that I got out.
Wow, good for you. And Karen, how about you? When did you last ride your bicycle?
Actually, a week ago, I was on vacation and I took a bike ride in Aruba.
Not bad. In Jennifer's film, she talks a lot about why people cycle. So I want to ask each of you now, why do you cycle now? I think you've all been through journeys. Some of that's been covered in the films. But Karen, I'll start with you this time. Why do you cycle today?
I actually cycle today because it gives me an opportunity to stay fit. It also gives me an opportunity to see my community in another way. When you're in a vehicle, you're closed in, you know, even with the sunroof. You know, but when you're out in the elements, you could hear the birds chirping, you could see the buildings clearly. You can communicate with people by just saying, hi, how are you today? You know, I have many people say to me, wow, you know, Karen, you really ride that much? I'm like, sure, and come on, do it with me.
Right. Jennifer, you next. Why do you ride now?
It's still the best mental health therapy I know. So, you know, sometimes there's those days where you don't want to get out, and those are the days you most probably likely need to get out. So it's kind of my stress reliever.
And lastly, Georgina, how about you?
I just like being outside. Anything I can do outside is fun. And it's even more fun, I think, on a bicycle.
Yeah, I have to agree with all of you. And I last rode yesterday. I was bummed I couldn't ride to work today. I had to take my car so I could make sure I was here on time. I'll add a question from the audience. I think this is from someone here. There's no name on it. This is a question. How about Karen? Is the idea of centuries more inspiring or intimidating? Is it still a rite of passage?
I mean, I think it's, you know, it definitely can be intimidating for an individual who hasn't been on the bike in a long time, or, you know, where are you going to do the century? Are you going to do it on the trail? Are you going to, you know, do it with some people? So it, you know, I would say it's intimidating, but, you know, I meet people where they are. You have to start slow. like anything new or anything that you pick back up in your life, you have to definitely give your body an opportunity to get used to it and understand the things that you're going to experience. So, you know, for what I would encourage a person is, you know, look at that as an aspiration, a goal, but start small. You don't have to do a sensory the first week that you get back on a bike. It takes time. So take that time, push yourself, encourage yourself, and if that's what you want to do, eventually do it, but start slow.
I think that was pretty obvious in the Annie movie. She really traveled a long way in her cycling experience. I think she started out as an entrepreneur, as an entertainer, way more than she was a cyclist. She only became a cyclist toward the end of it. You know, when she learned about the clothing she had to wear, the kind of equipment she needed to wear. There's a question of, I find it hard to believe, frankly, that she rode on those railway ties, but I don't know, she could have, I guess. But people, I think, do travel trek, and that's what I think you showed, Jennifer, in your movie. And Georgina, you don't talk about that in it's a small clip. It really talks more about your adult life, I guess, and where you've been business-wise. But how did cycling start for you, and how did you continue your ride?
Well, I didn't get a bike until I was about 12, and I didn't know how to ride it at the time, so I had to walk it back from the bike shop a mile to home and just kind of skitter around the backyard. But once I got the hang of it and my dad would let me go out and ride it on the street, then it was just a great way to see the neighborhood, to hang out with all my friends who were on bicycles. And I got my driver's license a year later than everyone because I was too busy riding my bike to really care about driving a car.
Jennifer, kind of related to that, this is a question for you from the audience here at Exercise Express. Did you always plan to include girls in your film?
Yeah, I had originally intended to try to find one young girl subject, you know, so that it was kind of a representation of different backgrounds and ages. And quite frankly, you know, it's hard to find one girl that can be that eloquent for a great long time. And so it just made sense at one point to expand it and give this kind of, and they're also exuberant, aren't they? They're so wonderful. So they ended up, that idea of the chorus of the young girls just really brought so much more life overall and energy to the project. So that was a lot of fun.
They certainly did. It's kind of related, Karen, a question for you from the audience, but what is the greatest barrier, do you think, to getting children of color to experience cycling?
I think one of the greatest barriers is, you know, do they have the means to purchase bikes? You know, many families, especially through COVID right now, are struggling, especially in the minority and impoverished communities. So access to bikes, to helmets, to the right equipment, and things of that nature. So, I mean, we have wonderful organizations like Our Community Bikes, but right now, individuals can only get a free bike if they're linked with a specific agency. So access, definitely.
What can individuals do to help? Do you have any ideas?
Oh, well, I mean, we have allies in the community. You can always donate to Exercise Express. We will purchase bikes for youth. We have a partnership with the city of Rochester through the rec department. And they, you know, have some times where they sponsor bike drives and they donate bikes to, you know, needy families in the community. But we need to do more of that. We need to do more of that.
Jennifer, do you have anything like that in Oregon?
Yeah, I don't know about in Oregon, but a group in Tacoma, Washington used my film for a group of young Black and BIPOC cyclists, female cyclists, and I guess they went out for a little 10-mile ride after they watched the film, and so that was really exciting. Yeah.
That is. Georgina, there's a question for you that someone has asked. Well, first she says, well, or he, thank you for being a trailblazer for women in cycling. I still find that there is tremendous need for women-specific equipment in all sports. What can we do as female athletes to make all sports more accessible and accommodating to women?
Oh, well, that's a big question. I guess if I were looking for something like that, I would try and find some company that's producing the products that you're interested in and really hype up that company maybe on social media and make a point of saying they're doing something that other companies aren't doing. And, you know, let's pay attention to that. It's the power of the purse that makes things happen to a large extent. So again, I mean, I would just spend your money where the product is really good and reinforce that company by maybe giving them more ideas on how to improve what they're doing or how to expand their product line. That might work as well. So yeah, I think that's where I would start with it.
Mm-hmm. Do you want to add anything, Jennifer or Karen?
I would agree.
What?
I would agree.
Oh. Mhm. You know, the pandemic has launched a bicycling boom. Everybody has talked about that. The bicycles have sold out at bike shops. Manufacturers are having all kinds of supply chain problems now. Do you think it's going to last? Do you think bicycling is going to change because of it in any way? Jennifer, do you have any thoughts on that?
Well, I mean, it's hard for me to imagine anybody not being, you know, smitten and being able to just walk away. So if I did read the headlines, right, that there were no bikes to be bought in certain areas because, and so once you have the bike, you know, why would you not ride it?
No dogs here.
Yeah. Georgina, I have another question for you from someone in our audience.
Okay.
She noticed that you don't sell stock bikes anymore, that you used to in your other company, and now you just do one-ofs. Can you briefly describe how you actually fit a person to a bicycle?
Yeah, believe it or not, I don't. Surprise, surprise. I'm not a fitter, I'm a designer of bikes. So if you come to me, regardless of whether it's in person or you're in another state somewhere, the first thing I do is hook you up with a professional fitter. And I rely on that professional fitter to look at the things that I've noticed from the information I have from you and the things that the fitter notices. And then we all kind of get together, and from that, the bicycle design evolves. So it's interesting. When I first started in business, fit was like incredibly simple. There were maybe 2 or 3 basic fit rules. The first one was, can you straddle the bicycle and have an inch of clearance over the top tube? Yes. If you put your elbow at the end of the saddle and extend your arm out, do your fingers rest on the handlebar? Yes. So you pass those simple tests in the bicycle fit. It is so much more complex right now. I mean, bicycle fitters are like the PhDs of the industry to some extent. So that's how I go about fitting. I put it in the hands of a woman who really knows what she's doing, and I go from there. Often I'll find that a fitter gives me a design that can't be built because the fitter's there just playing with the numbers and making the numbers look good. And that's where the design aspect comes in. How can we accommodate all of this customer's needs with a bicycle that we can really build? That's the challenge sometimes.
So if you could, what is it called? Get it down to one of your, what is your most greatest accomplishment that you've been the most proud of in your life?
Well, I guess it has to be getting this industry to wake up to the fact that women ride bicycles and they're not men.
Yeah. Do you think the industry has woken up to that?
I think the industry has danced around it quite a bit. For a while, they seemed to wake up to it because we had a lot of companies doing women-specific designs, like the Cannondale and Trek and all of that. And then all of a sudden they decided, oh, we went through our data and WSD really isn't necessary. All we need to do is what we used to do, tweak the stem, tweak the saddle, and now we have bikes for women. There are a few companies who are still sticking with women. Liv is one of them, a subsidiary of Giant. They do some really nice stuff. Juliana, especially for mountain bikes, they really specialize in that. But where the industry really still hasn't come to grips with women is when it comes to short women. I mean, if you're a short woman, God help you, because it's really tough to find a bike that fits. And as long as the industry is looking at a men's bell curve of sizing, they will forever ignore that little segment because they don't see any money in it. But yeah, it's like a ping pong ball. It bounces back and forth all the time. And at different points in time, it's in a different place.
And our rental fleet, which is specifically for women, obviously all of our tours are for women, we have to change all of the bikes. They're not comfortable when they arrive. We have to, it's annoying.
That is annoying, but I understand completely.
Yeah. Jennifer, you talked when the last time I spoke to you that you had a project in mind, your next film project before the pandemic hit. What are your plans for your next film? What are your plans?
Well, I did so I had a plan, and then the pandemic hit, and then I kind of sidestepped. So I am currently working on a project about political divide, which is a stupid project.
Why is that stupid?
It's just, you know how you think, oh, I can say something about this, and then you realize the topic is just so much larger than that. But the idea that I had in mind that I hope I can at some point pick up is an idea to return to a film about cycling, and that is to talk to folks who have undergone maybe big cycling adventures or used some kind of cycling milestone, maybe it's a century or something like that, as a means to, as part of a recovery, rather that recovery be from grief or from substance abuse or from illness. And so I still think that there's something powerful there. That was kind of one of the themes in The Wind in Our Hair. And I just thought that was a really powerful theme to kind of further.
I have to agree with that because our tours, a lot of women come on our tours with that. They've either just gone through something that they're working on getting through, or have a goal in mind, a big change is coming in their life and they want to work towards that or get accustomed to it. So yeah, I get that. And Karen, I know that you once rode from Buffalo to Albany. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yes, absolutely. Exercise Express, we also work with individuals who are in recovery and individuals that have mental health diagnoses and so we got a group of people together from the couch that never did any type of physical activity for more than an hour maybe. We trained, we worked together, we became a family. We trained for 3 months. They did cycling and inside the studio. When the weather got better, we went outside and we did it. 9 individuals, including myself, Karen L., Susan. We had some sweepers, some people to assist us, car assist and things of that nature. But these 9 individuals who went on this 400-mile bike ride, it changed their lives. One of the members told me that instead of thinking about the PTSD that they have and the drinking disease, as she would refer to it, drinking for her was a disease. And she said that when I rode those miles and I rode through the trails and on the street, I could clearly hear the birds chirping and a higher being speaking to me and telling me that you can do it and things of that nature. And we changed that, we transformed our lives being on that bike ride for 5 days. So you talk about what's next. That's what's next for me. Impacting individuals to the point where it's a life-changing experience for them. I had a child see me riding my bike in my community, not too far from Exercise Express. And, you know, she said, "Hey, Miss Karen, why are you riding a bike? Do you have a DWI?" I said, "Hey, come here." Came over and talked to me. I said, "Listen, no, I don't have a DWI. I have a car too, but I choose to ride a bike because I enjoy doing it. It's fun. It keeps me healthy. So don't ever think just because you see someone on a bike that's an adult, do not think that they're riding because they have a DWI." So now my goal is to educate and change our community, you know, change the fact that even a little kid seeing an adult riding a bike, they assume that it's because they got their license taken away. I have to change that. And Jennifer, I know I've talked to you about, you know, yeah, we should. I would love to assist in some type of film production that encourages people to ride, especially those individuals who need bikes as a primary means of transportation. So that's what it's about for me, helping people, educating people about getting out on a bike. It's a wonderful thing. And I'm excited.
I can tell. That's great. We have an organization here called Black Girls Do Bike, and I believe there's a few of them around the country as well. And there's one question that's just come in for Jennifer, for your top 3 tips for the ladies of Black Girls Do Bike to train for their first century this summer.
So one of the best pieces of advice that I got when I started expressing that A, that I wanted to do it, and B, that I had reservations that I could do it, was someone said, if you can ride 50, you can ride 100. So I would just encourage you to break the seal on that length, you know, soon. And then really, it is, you know, just having more confidence about longer lengths. So a couple of longer lengths, they don't have to be much longer than 50 really, just makes you feel like on the day. And just remember on the day, like you go into it and you just know that that's the only thing you have to do that day, right? And so even if it takes you 10 hours, you're gonna make it. You gotta take a lot of breaks, it doesn't matter, you're gonna make it. So, you know, there shouldn't be some kind of idea of like, oh, I'm gonna do it in less than X number of hours or something like that. Like, that's all you're doing all day. You know, the sun may go down, they'll still be there waiting for you at the end. So I know you asked for 3 things, but those are two things. Those are the best 2 I can come up with.
Well, can anyone give a third?
I definitely can. Prepare yourself. Make sure you have enough food. Make sure you have enough water. Make sure you're resting. All of those things. Hey, Keisha, I'm a Black girl that bikes also in the Rochester community. We have done a lot of partnerships and collaborations together. I would say, Keisha, keep doing your Tuesday night and Thursday night unity ride. That's going to help you to train for this. And like Jennifer said, just know that you can do it. Keep going. It doesn't have to be in a specific time frame. So you guys can do it. And I'll be right there cheering you guys on.
I was just informed that there are over 100 chapters of Black Girls Do Bike in the United States, and there's even one in London. So I stand corrected. A few is a lot more than a few.
Absolutely.
Georgina, someone's asking about how important fit is to getting a bicycle, and is it expensive?
Well, there are a couple of ways to look at it. Fit is absolutely crucial. I mean, I think whether you're just buying an inexpensive bicycle or you're having a custom bicycle done, what I say, a lot of people think that first I buy my bicycle and then I go in and I get the fit and make it and tweak it so it's just right. And what I say to people is, it's like building a house and then going back later and putting the basement in. You got to start with the right foundation first and build from there. As far as the prices of fittings, they come in a lot of different flavors. Some are really, really involved and some are really straightforward. probably the least amount of money you would pay for a fit, I would guess, would be around $150. And at the high end of the scale, you could go as high as $400. What I do with my customers when they buy a custom bicycle from me is I include the price of the fit in the price of the bicycle. I don't want them to be worrying about where to go or what to do. I want to make sure that that's an important component of the bicycle as much as the handlebars and the saddle. It has to be the fit. And then the fit should be done as well after you get on this new bicycle, just to make sure that you're hitting all of the touch points that the fitter has recommended. It's kind of a two-part process. On the other hand, if you're somebody who's ridden a bunch of bicycles and you're comfortable no matter what you ride, maybe you don't need a fit at all. But usually that's not the case. There's always room for improvement.
How about advice for someone who's just starting out?
Yeah, just starting out, probably the fit may not be as important at that point. I mean, maybe it's more important just to figure out how to ride the bicycle in terms of shifting the gears and how fast should I pedal or how slow should I pedal or how far should I go, how should I feel, that kind of thing. Because you may not be able to express to a fitter the things that you like and don't like about a bicycle when you're first getting started. Those things may kind of evolve a little bit with time. But, you know, if you really love bicycling, at some point you should include that in your repertoire, so to speak, because I think it can open your eyes to things you may not have thought about. You may find some opportunities for improvement that you'd never even considered, but somebody looking at you from the outside can go, hey, do you know if you did this, you go faster? Everybody wants to go faster, so that's worth looking into, right?
Mm-hmm. Or if you did this, it might not hurt so much.
Right, yeah. That's another thing I guess you come up with. Bicycles should not hurt. There are a lot of people who just think, well, my neck and shoulders are always going to be sore. My butt's going to be sore. That's just part of bicycling, isn't it? No, you should only be aware of the bicycle as being a responsive piece of equipment that's doing exactly what you want it to do. You think it does. You are absolutely one with it. And if the bicycle is hurting you, you're not going to be one with it. And you probably aren't going to look forward to the next ride. That's a key to a century ride right there. Make sure that you're riding pain-free before you start off on a century.
Yeah, that's the thing about training, is the longer your rides get, I mean, then you learn what hurts and what you can do to try to alleviate that. So that you can go
and some of those
longer.
things, if you're really riding a long distance, maybe you can never alleviate some of those pains. That may just be, 90 miles, something's bound to give.
Jennifer, do you have anything to add to that?
No. That was really
Well, I do have a question for you, since I have your attention. How did these three films get together as a package? Were you the one who instigated that?
I am the one that instigated it. Yeah. So I made the little film, and then I knew, like, I as you said in the intro, or as Susan said in my intro, I have been making films for 20 years, but a lot of them are these kind of little experimental arty films, and they have a specific place where they play in film festivals and so on. And I just knew that this film, that wasn't the audience, right? Like film festival audience. It was really reaching out and talking to women's biking groups, talking to women's specific bike shops and that kind of thing. So it was a little bit like I was a little indie band in the way that I just reached out, but I also knew that my little film by itself wasn't kind of an event, and that it would be for exactly what you're doing, where you would gather together members and maybe prospective members and so on and bring them together. We did a lot of screenings in bike shops and that kind of thing. And so I went on a little search, and the filmmaking world is actually pretty small. And so by word of mouth, I ended up finding these two filmmakers and their two films, and how fortuitous it was, because there is something kind of fun about the way that they all three play together, and they tell a history of women in cycling that was really exciting. And so I was really, really fortunate with finding those two films.
Karen, how did you get into Exercise Express, and how did it move you to getting outside?
You know, I was trying to get a little bit more fit. I worked at the YMCA for several years. They had some bikes that went on sale, and I kind of purchased them. Started my own spinning classes. People enjoyed it. I got certified in cycling. You know, on a dare, went outside and started riding with my mentor Scott Wagner, and I just fell in love with it again. You know, Exercise Express is a vehicle to help people in the community get healthy. And the means is biking, walking, jogging, Zumba, yoga, diabetes prevention, recovery program, you know, so whatever it is to help my community, that's what I'm here for. My mom passed away from complications from diabetes. If I had known all the things that I know now, she may be alive today. But, you know, we can't go back. We could only move forward. I want to help people to get healthy by any means necessary.
You know, you mentioned having a mentor, Scott. Do you have advice for how someone could find a mentor?
I don't know. I just lucked in in on Scott. But you know, we have to be willing to networking and cross lines, get out of our comfort zone. There's not a lot of minorities riding bikes. Not really seriously and training and getting the proper equipment and things like that. You know, I had to cross lines and go into other communities and say, how do you do this? What is this on the bike? What does this mean? How do I change a tire? Build relationships with different organizations and different communities. And you know, I found some people that we're the same. We're no different. They enjoy biking. I enjoy biking. What I didn't know, they taught me. What they didn't know, I tried to teach them, and we keep doing it. And, you know, now I have to be a mentor and reach back in my community and bring people into biking and say, you know what? Why don't you meet this person? Let's introduce you to this person. So that's how it starts. We have to work together and educate one another on things and do it together. So you know, that's how I ran into all these biking people. And we're the same. We're the same. We have the same interests. We have the same desires. We have the same wants and needs. It's just a matter of being able to work together and understand each other. I just made friends today in the studio that I've never met before. I think we're gonna go on a bike ride together this weekend. I don't even know them, but we have biking in common. So I'm sure we're gonna like each other. Because if not, we'll just be bike riding people riding together that don't like each other. But we have that in common. So I'm excited. I will ride with anybody. I will go anywhere to ride a bike. And it's
Karen, did you have anyone? I'm Jennifer, I'm sorry. Jennifer, did you have anyone mentor you as you were starting out?
Yeah, the person I ended up marrying. So, I say it was a romance born on two wheels. So he was a colleague, and he knew I was going through a divorce, and also I knew that he was a really big cyclist, and he knew that I was kind of a cyclist, and then he invited me out to kind of push, take me on a little further bike rides than I had been on. And so I went from a clunky hybrid to my first road bike, and, he kind of mentored me in purchasing all of that and everything. And so, yeah, mentors are really important in all of this. They really are. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Georgina, I know you started cycling very, very young. Do you think you had a mentor anywhere along the way?
Yeah, I actually had I guess I call him a mentor, and a guy I dated for a while when I was living in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. And that was where I really got into club riding with the Western Pennsylvania wheelmen. And as you know, Pittsburgh is up and down and up and down and up and down. And this guy was really great at teaching me techniques for climbing hills and going down hills. And pushing myself and going further than I thought I was going to go. He always had this great saying. We'd come back from some hellacious ride that had been climbing and climbing and climbing. And he'd always look at me with a straight face and say, all my rides are downhill. And I just wanted to punch him in the mouth. But, you know, looking back on it, I realized that, wow, I really learned a lot riding with him. It was a lot of fun.
In other words, it helps to be single.
Yeah,
That was
yeah,
Rosie.
probably.
What age were you when you first started cycling?
Me?
Uh-huh.
12.
12.
Yeah.
And Jennifer, how about you?
You know, I was cycling early, like 5 or whatever, but I think I really came to it. I lost my mom as a teenager, and that was one of my first big cycling times because, you know, that's one of the ways I work through that grief. So.
Mm-hmm. And Karen, when did you start cycling?
I think I was like 8 years old, but I have, you know, 4 siblings, and I always got their hand-me-downs, and I never really had my own bike until just, you know, 7, 8 years ago. That was my bike, you know, built for me, myself.
That was fun. I have a question, a local question. I think this is for you, Georgina, is how do you find a bike fitter, and do you have any local recommendations?
Yeah. You can always just go to a bike shop site and start Googling and looking for fitters. But locally in Rochester, I would highly recommend Full Moon Vista Bike Shop. And the fitter there is Scott. He's the owner. I've used him for a couple of different fittings with customers. I've had the chance to watch him work with a customer. And he's really, really good. He just has a real innate sense of what he's looking for and a great way of working with the customer. So I would start there in Rochester. I'm sure there are other good fitters in Rochester, not to diss any of the other shops. It's just that my experience has been with Full Moon.
Karen, do you have any local recommendations?
I used to go to Yellow House Bike. They're the ones that built my bike. I just say, you know, go park at Bike. I bought a lot of stuff from them. You know, just find someone, shop around, just like you're shopping for a nice pair of shoes or a nice handbag, and then find someone that, you know, you feel comfortable with.
Since I have your attention, Karen, this is a question for everybody, I'll ask, but Karen first. If they want you to be honest, and they're saying, were you always so fit? Were you always in such good bike shape? And if not, what changed?
No, I was 70 pounds heavier before I started spinning, cycling, biking. I lost the weight, I kept it off. I just recently, you know, being a fitness instructor, group fitness instructor, running a diabetes prevention program, you know, now I'm learning that I can't just get on a bike and ride. I have to eat well. I have to make it a lifestyle. I have to, you know, understand reading food labels and counting my calories and all that. But no, in my family, you know, we have high blood pressure, diabetes, high cholesterol. I mean, there was no emphasis growing up on staying healthy. We were all athletic, ran track, played soccer, played volleyball, things like that. But no, there was no big, you know, deal about staying fit or being healthy in the community that I came from.
Jennifer, how about you? Were you always so fit?
No, I mean, I cover that in the film, right? Like
Mhm.
I always, the chubby girl thing. And even, you know, even when I was riding that Century, I was a little bit, you know, I was carrying a few extra pounds. And so just like Karen was saying, there's just this way where I feel like the Century kind of broke this mold where thinking about fitness was not about, like, it was more about being healthy than it was like worrying about aesthetics or whatever. And I think when I let go of, you know, worrying about some kind of beauty ideal or whatever, and just concentrating on what made me feel good based on what I was eating, the exercise I was doing, and so on. Yeah, so I'm even more fit now than you know, when I did that Century.
And Georgina?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I've always been kind of a beanpole and really outdoorsy and athletic. So I just feel like cycling has been an extension of that. And certainly it's helped me maintain that fitness. But I guess I've been fortunate in that I haven't had to work at it like a lot of people do. I've just been lucky that way.
Mhm. I think I'll end it with one more question for each of you. And what is your next challenge that you or if you have a challenge, maybe you don't have one, but if you have one, what is it? What is it? Georgina, do you want to take it first?
No, I need time to think about that.
Oh, all right, sorry.
That's a tough one.
Jennifer?
I have a loosely defined, bike adventure challenge. And so right now it's the idea of being able to explore the world on the bike is just amazing to me. And I did a couple of years ago a bike tour through Northern California. And yeah, I just can't wait to try something again. I would have told you it would have been Cycle Oregon, which was the thing that I was going to do the film around last fall that got canceled because of the pandemic. So, something like that.
So you mean you want to be the next Annie Londonderry and bike around the world?
I really do. Yeah, actually, but I mean, realistically, I don't think that's going to happen. But yeah, maybe in chunks, right? Like, yeah, eventually wrap the globe, but maybe over a 20-year period or something.
That's good. That's good. Karen, how about you? Do you have a challenge in mind or a next goal?
We have 2 senior living facilities right next door to us, Danforth Towers, and there's about 300 people in that facility. I want to get them all either biking or doing silver sneakers or something, and I want us to do it as that's what my next goal is. My phone is ringing, I'm sorry, and I can't mute it. So that's my next adventure.
300 people. That's a big quest. 300 people is a lot of people.
And of course, continuing to work with people, especially in recovery, because it's a great outlet. Addiction. Why not get addicted to biking as opposed to anything else?
All right, Georgina, have you had enough time?
Wow, that's a really hard question. I don't know why I never think about things like that. I guess my challenge would be not so much with bicycling in particular, but more with clean energy technologies and just getting people to realize that we can't keep dumping carbon into the atmosphere and expecting everything to be normal. Everybody in this country should have to read The Tragedy of the Commons and ask themselves what they're doing to make this place any better. I think if we can get that under control, and we are playing catch up seriously, big time right now, bicycling may follow, because certainly as a means of transportation, it is one of the solutions to this problem. And it encompasses so much. I mean, I can't imagine trying to commute by bicycle in Rochester when I look at people in Amsterdam commuting, and I wonder, well, I know people do, but man, it shouldn't be a challenge. It shouldn't be life-threatening. It shouldn't be, oh my God, I made it to work today and I'm in one piece. I mean, it should be a God-given right that if you want to commute by bicycle, you can do it, and the infrastructure is there, and we learn from that. I mean, I'm not sure how I'm going to make that a challenge, but I think as a community and a country, it's a huge challenge, and we better get with it fast.
Hear, hear. Yeah, I think that's a great note to end on. And I just want to read one final comment that we got. It says, ladies, you all look amazing and are an inspiration to all of us. Thank you for doing all that you do. So I will close unless any of you want to say anything else before we close.
Thanks, it was fun.
Thank
you.
It was fun. So a huge thank you. A huge thank you to all of our panelists, Georgina Terry, Jennifer, and Karen. It's been a pleasure speaking with all of you tonight. I have definitely been honored and learned a ton. I always think, I've known Georgina such a long time, and she's such an inspiration every time I hear more stories that I didn't know before. I didn't know about the boyfriend in Pittsburgh, for example.
Ah, see, there's more.
And a few more thank yous to our projectionist, Monica Reifenstein, Brian Agnello for his IT assistance, Jesse Piers for monitoring questions, Karen Lankenshofer, and Mary Jackson for helping organize the evening, and most of all to Susan Levin for organizing this lovely event. Thank you to everyone here at Exercise Express and out there on Zoom for your questions and for supporting our second of the 2021 workshop series. The first one in April featured Darren Ramsey of Rochester, who presented the annual infrastructure project status. And we have his presentation on YouTube if you'd like to see it. In September, we will be offering a program focusing on transportation and cycling equity. And later in the fall, we'll have an annual recap of our regional bike share program presented by Hopper, H-O-P-R. It'll be later this fall.
I like her very much.
For more information about all of these upcoming events, check our website,
Oh my God.
www.reconnectrochester.org. And thank you very much and have a great night.